Hello everyone, we're going to be taking a look at the third pattern we have here, the Grand Thorn, the third attacking pattern. You might have heard of the term Fawn Pawn, and this is basically the same thing. Well, it is the same thing. Thorn Pawn, Fawn Pawn, Fawn Pawn, popularized by King's Crusher, which is this terminology actually is gaining traction. So yeah, this is what it is, this pawn. It's a Thorn in Black's King side, as it first of all allows back rank mates to occur, as the king is now completely boxed in, and the mate on g7 with the queen can occur, and that's what we have here. And the one thing to remember, actually the one thing to remember is basically three things, but it's one thing in the sense that you should remember that all of these squares are important. So e8 can become a back rank mate at many points, and g7 is mate with the queen, and h6 sometimes with the knight. You can put the knight here on h6, and sometimes it's mate if you have like a bishop on g7, which actually will occur in the sample game we'll see. So let's check out the first sample game we have here. None other than Magnus Carlsen taking wait just a minute for me to yeah, just fix this title. Taking on none other than Vladimir Potkin. So let's see what happened here. We'll zoom through the opening, of course. This is some normal Sicilian stuff. Okay, maybe I'm zooming through too fast. Let's just do it like this. Okay. And here is where Magnus realizes the importance of the Fawn Pawn, the Thorn Pawn, and checks here. And now the point is that you have this very strong pawn here, and like always note that, like for example, why is this sacrifice not just accepted? You just have queen g3 and queen h5, queen h4 with taking here, and the bishop is threatened, so you can't take, and mate is threatened. So that's like, let's put it on the board if you guys want. So here, and now mate is threatened, and the bishop will be recouped with interest. So this occurred in the game, and Magnus keeps on opening up some files, and of course opening up for the queen to come to mate. So queen d8 is a standard also pattern in response, just attacking the pawn. And here when you see queen d8, like you should know from the pattern, you don't go queen h6, because then you'd lose the pawn and you'd look rather silly and you don't have anything, and queen g7 can always defend. So here what you should do is just to protect the pawn, or if you have other means to protect the pawn, then you should do that. But here only queen g5 is available. And note that, like for example, takes never works, because of course you can't take due to the pin. Okay, so let's not spend too much time here. And now Magnus so Magnus sacrifices, the point being that after takes, of course, this is just leading to checkmate. So queen takes, and now Magnus sacrifices again. The point here, of course, is that after takes, there is a check. Actually, what's the wait, no, this is usually the pattern is like this check, and then you like follow up with some rook lift, but here quite simply this wins. And yeah, there is no good defense here. For example, if rook f7, you just take, making use of the pin, so the rook can't take because of the pin. Alright, so king h8, and now Magnus just wins. This is another pattern, so you go here with this familiar mate, and now rook d7, wait, rook d7 occurs, rook f7 in response. This mouse. Okay, bishop d3 back. Now the threat is here, so black gives a check, but now the same thing occurs. Okay, I'll use the keyboard here. So the same thing occurs, and here white is just winning because this bishop is attacked, this rook can be like, of course it's attacked, and the rook can swing in, and of course the king is here, so okay, no need to really discuss this. Alright, let's move on to the next chapter. So we have sample game number 2. So let's see what happened here. So let's go through this slowly. Okay, we have this Godiva variation, if you guys remember from the Lebanese chess championship coverage, and these knight maneuvers by Naiditsch are quite cute, getting the knights to better squares. And now remember, queen h3 also a bit of a familiar pattern, like the queen e1 stuff. And here, boom, f6. f6 comes in. Black, of course, tries to trade off pieces, but white is not going to accept. The reason why this is tactically working is because this is hanging, so you don't care about this, or you care less. But now the rook is protecting, and now you can imagine some of these ideas, but black didn't necessarily want to give up the pawn. White didn't want to give up the pawn just yet. Now this is also a familiar pattern, getting the bishop back to g1, where it defends crucial squares, and the bishop always is fine on these diagonals because it's a long-ranged piece. So rook a8, knight f3, knight to f3, getting this knight active now, so you have two strong knights which have some nice squares to work with. Knight takes, trying to get the sidelined knight back into the game, but it's of course too little too late, and sacrificing in exchange, which Naiditsch is more than happy to take. And now knight f5, and some big threats are coming. Queen c6 trying to go for mate, but of course white won't be moving the queen, and now white protects here. And here he gives up this pawn, but the point is that after this there will be a humongous attack connected with queen takes e5 as well. So black tries to get out of it, but now we see something we talked about, bishop g7. And now the threat is knight h6, mate. And if it's taken, of course, just this, and followed by this is mate. So h5 occurs, trying to create an escape square. Knight h6 check, and the escape square is there for the king, but after knight takes f7, knight g5 check is coming, and it's just gg. So you're seeing here the power of the Thorn, I combined the two, Thorn pawn or Fawn pawn. Okay, so now we have the test here. So it's actually MVL against Naiditsch, and we get to see one of these Rossolimos. Go through the opening quickly. White obviously has a strong bind with the bishop being on d6, completely blocking in the pawn. So this is quite strong. Okay, my mouse keeps double clicking, so let me go through this more slowly. And now f6, and queen h6 is threatened. So knight d8, trying to go to e6 to cover. So this is another pattern you should be aware of. And now bishop f5. So the question here is bishop f5 a good move or a bad move? And if it's a bad move, why is it a bad move? So pause the video and try to find out. Alright, to find out the answer, let's continue with the game. So here, bishop f5 was played, and now white goes for d3 check. So seemingly winning a piece, but the point of course of bishop f5 was what? That now when the knight comes to e6, you take it, and then you're able to mate. So it basically removes one of the defenders. So that was the point. So that's why, for example, here, black can't take because of this. And now of this, just this. So, was bishop f5 a good move? The answer is no, because of a counter pattern, which I have not included in this series of videos, but you can find it in the chess patterns book. which I hope to release this year, but it's looking difficult actually. So if you come here, just rook g8, and now you go back to d3 because now you no longer have any mate threats. And like something, usually against this specific pattern, you can lift up the rook because then after you take and check here, it's mate. But here it doesn't work because the rook has no good squares to go to. e3, e4 are covered, and this rook the same. So you have to move back. And after rook c3, if you move the bishop, then d3 will actually win a piece due to the check and picking up the knight. And if you don't move the bishop, then you're like if you play something like this, then black will have achieved quite a lot. And they will start wresting the initiative from you, and they have knight e6, for example, to further cover g7. Then they can get the rook active, and you're just pinned here. Well, not now, but later. So this is quite bad. So this was a mistake by MVL, but Naiditsch did not capitalize. Instead, he went d3 check immediately, and now this just is far better for white with these pawns here. And we'll go through the game continuation. So MVL got into an endgame, but it's completely winning because of the passed pawn, and the knight is quite superior. And he's just a pawn up here, and he converted in rather good fashion, maybe excellent even. And this is a nice way to finish things off. If takes, you have a check. So that's it for this video, guys. This just for me to mention also that the Thorn pawn, oh my god, the Thorn pawn or Fawn pawn with at h6. Oh my god, I'm playing too much bug house and crazy. With the pawn being on h6 instead of f6. This is also another pattern, but I'm not including it in this video series because it's very similar to this f6 one. Of course, the difference is that the f6 square is open, but having the pawn on f6 is more common than having the pawn on h6 against this fianchetto structure. So that's another pattern that you can find in the book and not this video series. Alright, with that, thanks for watching, guys. Take care and bye.